Welcome to the Unfiltered Podcast with hosts Mike D'Alessandro and Jeff Angelo. Unfiltered is based in Clark County, Washington, and is focused on discussing local news and politics. This is episode 3, and our guest is Eric Holt. And now, for the unreal, unrated, unequaled Clark County podcast, Unfiltered.
Welcome to Unfiltered. I'm Mike D'Alessandro along with Jeff Angelo. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing great today.
We got an awesome guest today. Can you introduce him for us?
We do. We're with Eric Holt today. And Eric is currently the Western Washington Vice Chair of the Progressive Caucus. It's a mouthful. For me, it's a mouthful. He also just ran a Senate campaign for the 18th Legislative District. Welcome, Eric Holt.
Thanks for having me here.
We definitely appreciate you being here. Today we're going to talk about just stuff pertaining to the progressive movement.
Perfect.
We also have a few other topics pertaining to the 18th Legislative District. And then just whatever pops up in our heads. Because sometimes I randomly just have stuff pop up.
And boy, that can be dangerous, believe me.
Rob, we had fun with Rob Frasino when he was in here the other week.
The question is, did he have fun with us?
No, I don't think he did. Yeah, he had a great time.
We'll have to ask.
We'll have to ask. Next time when he's back in here.
All right.
So you just won the vice chair position for Washington State Progressive Caucus. Number one, what I'm looking for is just what the Progressive Caucus is and what is its plan moving forward. And also, not to eliminate, what do you do as the vice chair of the Progressive Caucus?
Well, so to take it piece by piece, the Progressive Caucus is just another caucus of the Democratic Party. As all caucuses do, they give an avenue for the state committee people who go to the quarterly meetings to meet and talk about issues, whether it pertains to the Progressive Caucus or if it's African American or veteran or women's, that they all have different caucuses. As the vice chair, my role in any other position as a vice chair is to support the views of the chair and the direction of the chair as indicated by his election of the body. As far as the literal role of the Progressive Caucus is laid out in their mission statement and their vision as to uphold the platform of the Democratic Party as progressive views and issues and needs, and then to hold our elected leaders accountable to those platform standards. My view and my vision for the Progressive Caucus is for it to, one, grow to the size that we can integrate progressive groups throughout the state of Washington, and not only in congressional districts, counties, and legislative districts, but just group meetings throughout the entire state, so that people can meet and talk about progressive issues and the direction of the world at large and what pertains to that. But also, the vision is to give a platform for progressive candidates, the resources, the support, and the boots on the ground from volunteers to get that so that we can run successful campaigns from everything from the county school board level to the governorship if necessary. The more figurative version of the Progressive Caucus that I'd like to see it as is a vehicle or a conduit to allow people who maybe have been turned off by party politics, the whole bigger sphere, and saying, well, I'm an independent, which the majority of Americans now consider themselves independents. They don't consider themselves a Democrat or a Republican. Mm-hmm. They don't want anything to do with it. So this gives them a vehicle or a conduit then to start talking about these issues from a progressive point of view, and maybe allow them to see that Democrats aren't all that bad, and we share your core values, and to come into the party and be a part of it, and maybe start running in local legislative districts as the chair, vice chair, secretary, and be involved in and actually make the party the direction, the view, and the vision that they see that a party should be.
So real quick, just backing up one step, and maybe I should have started here. What's your background a little bit, and how did you get involved with the progressive movement?
I grew up in southern Utah, And Utah is an extremely conservative religious state. And
Really?
I
did not know that.
I always did not fit in. I just did not fit in.
You don't say.
The entire structure of a religious theocracy did not resonate with the core of who I am. So I was always getting into trouble because I was asking why. Mormons don't drink hot drinks. They don't drink soda pop. They don't drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes. But it was okay for us to drink hot cocoa.
Ooh,
So
I
I'd say,
love
well,
cocoa.
if hot chocolate is so great, why is it bad for these other people who drink coffee? Why are we stigmatizing them and looking down upon them? And instead of explaining things logically, it was always, well, you just have to believe. You just have to believe that what we determined as what's right and wrong is what's right and wrong. And so as those more and more questions came up, I moved further and further away from that and realized that everything that I was tied to in life about supporting people who needed help and standing up for people who were being bullied, all tied back into the core values of somebody who is more democratic or progressive minded, and the whole entire structure of the state was what I didn't agree with, which is, even though Utah is an incredibly social state where the government actually runs a huge part of it, they don't believe in socialism and taking care of your neighbors, unless you're in the same club. If you're in the same club, that's okay, but
I'm not in that club.
right.
Interesting side note about Utah. I just saw an article in the last week or so. When we come to growth management and planning, just like here in the state of Washington, I think one of the first states that actually had a Growth Management Act passed, that Utah's been doing it for a long time. And they brought up that it's one of the most conservative states, yet they have a growth management plan that takes into account the environmental impact of development. And it was an interesting little article. So you brought just...
Well, Utah's, one of the largest income for Utah is its tourism. So you don't impact the tourism because you lose the... Plus you also are dealing with hundreds of thousands of acres of BLM land. So to keep agreements with the government as well as your tourism, you've got to watch what you do.
Salt Lake City, Utah?
Yeah, if you can't go to Utah to ski, if you can't hold the Winter Olympics...
I don't ski. I do not ski.
I'm shocked. Because shorts, you can't wear shorts.
You can't wear shorts on the mountain. I lodge. I'll go to the lodges.
Yeah.
And I'll watch people put those skis on and fall over. They're ridiculous.
Have a nice
what are
warm
people still doing skiing?
So to tie back into your question, why do I consider myself progressive is because I've always been on that. From being a member of PETA in the early 90s to voting for Nader because he was saying something that would be better for the environment as a whole rather than just the party politics. And then moving to the Northwest, we moved from Utah with our kids to the Northwest because we believe that the Northwest, unknowingly moving to the most conservative legislative district, but we had heard that the Northwest resonated with our same values.
Good call with the 18th.
So Eric, it's interesting you brought this up. I'm going to tie into what you just said there. On this show, we previously discussed the idea going around in some circles that there are actually really three parties out there. We've really got the far right, like the Tea Party movement, and then we've got this group in the middle, which consists of Republicans and Democrats, and then we've got the progressives toward the left side of the spectrum. Do you think we have three parties, and are the progressives their own party?
No, I disagree with your entire assumption of that. I don't believe that we have three parties that are the right, the center, and the progressives. I believe that on the right you have libertarians and you have conservatives, and libertarians may not be socially conservative at all. They just might believe in smaller government. So on the left you have the communists, the Marxists, socialists, you have liberals, but the progressives can also be not very left at all. They can be either way out in left field and be communists, or they can also be very conservative as far as we want fiscal balanced budgets. We think it's fine that people go hunting and have guns as long as it's reasonable and safe. We think it's fine that you drive a big diesel truck if you work on a farm or you run a business that requires it. It's common sense. Progressives are the people who do the work. They not just say, this is our ideal utopia.
So you don't view it as, if we have this big spectrum of left and right, you really don't view it as a spot on the spectrum, but rather partly just scattered throughout that spectrum in different areas. Okay, interesting.
So Eric, right now there's obviously quite a heavy climate out there in politics. Now, you're interested in party unity. So does separating out a group of Democrats and calling yourselves progressive create a sense of unity there?
Let me give you an analogy, because everything is perspective, and we all have our own perspective on what is affected by our emotional ties, how it ties into us, and what is directly related. So I'll take this from a couple of different angles. First of all, we'll take it from the new people that are joining the party because they've found something, whether it be Bernie Sanders or Barack Obama, something that inspired them to do more greater things with their life.
So within the past year.
Right. So we've got a group of people coming into the party, and their perspective is they come into the Democratic Party and they see that it's a solid machine, but it's got a flat tire, maybe knocking a rod, and a couple of old people driving, and they're saying, you know what? Let us be a part of this. Let's fix this tire. Let's tune up this car, and maybe let us drive every once in a while. We'll take turns, and we'll get this thing going, and we'll get it back going 30, 40, 50 miles down the road.
39?
30, 40, 50 miles an hour down the road. And we'll get
up to 39 miles per hour.
Well, because it's been going at 2 with a flat tire.
That's true.
So we get, take our energy, take our ideas, take our experience, because a lot of people coming in the party may not have party experience, but they have business degrees. They have, they've been involved in other kinds of organizations, just not particularly this party. So they have value, and they say, just let us be a part of this. So then they're seeing the party insiders, the more of the establishment, look at them and say, look, Holt, slow down. You don't know what you're doing. You've never been through this before. You don't even know the Roberts Rules of Order. So just slow down. This car's been getting us down the road just fine for 100 years. Yeah, it's 2 miles an hour, but this baby is going, and we're doing just fine. We know where we're going, and you're just going to push us off the road. So they're feeling that resistance, and they're saying, well, fine, screw you. I'll just go build my own car and drive down the road. What they don't realize, though, is we don't need to build a new car. We got the car right there. We just need to make the improvements and work together. Take the experience that is there and the knowledge that is there and integrate it together and make a stronger machine from it. Now, from the insider point of view, they see all these new people coming in wanting to change things, and they're like, well, where the fuck were you for the last 100 years? We've been fighting for rights, we've been marching, we've been doing everything, we've been doing the hard work, and now you're coming in saying that we're not doing it right? What right do you have to come in and tell us that you want to take over driving? What makes you think that we want you to fix our car? So I see the different points, and the unity is first the people coming in to say, look, I'm sorry that I haven't been there. I've been doing other things with my life. I've been either focusing on me or focusing on my kids or being a rock star or climbing mountains, but I haven't been here for you. And so for them to say, I'm sorry, we weren't there when you needed us, but we're here now. So just take what we have to offer. But it also takes those who have been there to stop a minute and say, maybe these people coming in aren't trying to get rid of us. Maybe they really are just wanting to make something greater together. And if we can build that trust again, and if we can build that cohesion, then we actually will build a machine that will go 60 miles an hour, that won't break down halfway between an election, and that will be successful through to the end. And that's the party unity that we need to be working for.
So to follow up on that, how do you feel it's been going since Election Day?
Well, I think it's been rough, and it's hard to slowly realize that we're under a dictatorship of King Cheeto and his band of merry fellows, and it's been hard on a lot of people, because even the people, even the most conservative people are going, what the hell is this going on? This guy's not following simple law. And
it's been rough.
It's been rough. And there's been a lot of blame. There's a lot of people saying, well, you voted for Jill Stein. Well, this is your fault. Mm-hmm. And what we have to realize is, there are reasons why people voted for. I voted for Hillary. Not my first choice, but I voted for Hillary because King Cheeto was never in the running for my choice. But anyway, so you've got people who voted for Jill Stein, and there's a reason. There's just like there was a reason that people voted for Trump. And we have to understand that reason. That reason was that either Hillary wasn't a strong enough candidate to draw them in, or maybe that she didn't resonate what they believed in. They were really, really green people that believe in self-sufficiency and all these things that she didn't resonate. Mm-hmm. And that's why they stayed to that. Or maybe they just have a complete and utter distrust for the Democratic Party. And so until we heal that, until we change those mindsets, we're never going to draw those people in. We're going to continue to lose those votes. So rather than blame them and push them further away, we need to understand them just like we have to understand the people like my cousins and my uncles who for years were union workers and Democrats and now voted for Trump. Why? Why? You know why? Because the Democrats ignored them. They said, oh, we don't like you because you drive a big jacked up truck and spew diesel fumes everywhere and you want to go hunting. So you're not a real Democrat. We don't want you in our party anymore. You're in a poor state anyway. We just end up sending you money to pay to clean your Flint water anyway. So we don't even want you in our party. So we've let them down. We've ignored them. We made them feel marginalized, and that's why they left.
Well, that's a great segue here, because recently Donald Trump invited union leaders to the White House. Maybe you heard about this. One union leader commented that Trump's inaugural speech spoke to the American worker. Do you think American workers can prosper under a Trump presidency?
Absolutely not. I see how it resonates, though. Okay. You give that populist point of view and say, look, you have been marginalized. You have been left behind. Nobody's standing up to protect you. We're sending these jobs out because the Democrats and the Republicans together have signed these free trade agreements instead of fair trade agreements. They've been ignoring the value that we've been getting from unions for so many years. And so that populism in his voice resonated. The reality is, you look at somebody at what somebody does, not what they say. And Trump has outsourced every product he's ever produced. Every time somebody tries to unionize somewhere he works, he fights it tooth and nail. He's willing to shut it down before he'll unionize. Every business that he has a certain amount of bankruptcy and debt that's associated with it, and so there's not a history there that allows me to believe that he will heal anything with any union workers.
He can't make good financial decisions on his own. How's he going to make it for anyone else? And it's all. Do you remember Trump water? No one else does. Because no one else does.
I have some right here.
Seriously, it's just Trump steaks, how'd they wind up doing? You still buying yourself some Trump steaks?
By the way, that guy likes his steak well done. I don't know that I can trust anybody that eats a steak well done. I'm sorry.
No steaks for you, though, right?
Actually, we just slaughtered a cow last year, and we've got a little bit left in the freezer.
Because you're out in the...
Well, that's a segue. We go from steaks to slaughtering cows. That was...
Well, so I was vegetarian for over 20 years.
Right. Militant. I remember having this conversation
vegan.
with
Militant vegan at times.
Yeah.
I was, PETA, gung-ho, but that was all perspective. That's where I was raised from. I was raised in a world where food came from McDonald's. It didn't come from the ground. And so you get this mindset where you have this separation of ownership, and you don't have that emotional connection, and so you don't have the same respect for food. Okay. And once you start, and so in that time, it's easy to say, well, you're bad because you do this, and I'm okay because I do this. I'm vegetarian, even though I eat crap all day. I'm still a better person than you because you eat a dead cow, without making those real connections of where we're coming from. And the truth is, what I should have been focused on is the sustainability of our economy and our food sources, where what comes from the ground in what state, and not state as in location, but state as in how putrid or chemicalized it is. But also, it's how do we treat these animals before they go to slaughter? Do they go through a factory system, like in most restaurants, or were we raising the animals with love and respect and giving them a duty before they find the ultimate end? And the fact is, as a vegetarian, I didn't realize that most farming companies can't function without proper fertilization. So if you don't, a real farm has to have animal husbandry as well as the growth of produce. Otherwise, that you'll eventually deplete the soil to a point where you can't grow healthy food anymore. So instead of bringing animals on the farm, we've moved animals farther away and just pumped chemicals full of into our farms. And now we have unhealthy food that has no base structure, and it's bad for our bodies, and we're getting sick, and the pharmaceutical companies selling the food and selling drugs right back to us, and we're hoping that we are their customers from birth to cradle to grave, however many 40 years that ends up being. And so we have to separate ourselves from that corporate mindset and that structure. And that's where I've come to where me and my family now eat meat, but it's meat that we raised.
Okay.
It's meat that we can guarantee how that meat was treated, and we grow as much of our own food as we can, and it's a much better life, much not as healthy. Well, I mean, much healthier, but I don't eat as well. I eat better. You know what I'm saying? Backwards.
So I got a question. If you're a vegetarian, can you eat Twinkies? Just wondering.
No, they have beef fat in them.
They do?
Yeah.
Twinkies have beef fat?
Yeah.
I haven't had one like 20 years.
Either
But
I was thinking-
I guess I'm like, I need to throw my stash out.
In all
No,
honesty,
I don't
beef
have
fat
it.
is the least of your worries when you're eating Twinkies.
Oh, so I can still eat beef fat.
Yeah.
I don't,
Beef tallow?
I don't know these rules. There's too many rules for me.
I don't know. I threw out, obviously, look at me. I threw out rules a long time ago. That was not one of my fortes. So, all right, get us back on track.
Yeah,
here. Where
that's
we
all right.
at?
Took a left turn.
Segue.
I'll bring it back to politics here. Although food is politics too, as well.
All food is politics. I don't trust people based on what they eat sometimes. We have a producer, Roy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust him one single bit based on what he eats. You don't trust him either, I know.
Well, I have different reasons.
That's true.
So, oh man, you make it tough to take things seriously sometimes.
Sorry.
So getting big money out of politics is a hallmark of the progressive movement. And I think it's actually a plank in the platform as well for the Democratic Party. Do you think candidates that take maximum contributions from PACs that are friendly to the progressive movement, say unions, environmental organizations, women's rights organizations, are those candidates corrupted by big money?
Well, let's be clear that progressives, Democrats, Republicans alike are, in general, we're opposed to big money in politics. If you look at Represent.us, a huge portion of their support also comes from conservatives who don't believe that big money should be involved in politics. And so I believe that money in politics can be a corrupting force. It can influence the way that a legislator votes in their because so let's look at the breakdown here. So you look at something as simple as medical marijuana, and medical marijuana is there for patients to take it when it's been determined that opioids or other drugs aren't doing the job that it should be done. So you have a legislator who comes in and writes legislation that will then legalize recreational marijuana, but will also strengthen the pharmaceutical industry, thus squeezing out the medical marijuana industry. And in every state in the nation, the 23 states that have legal medical marijuana, you have seen a push from the pharmaceutical company to bring in recreational drugs or recreational marijuana use. And in doing so, by squeezing out that medical marijuana, you increase people's dependency on opioids and pharmaceutical drugs, then profitability goes up for the pharmaceutical company. So this is common sense. If you're in a pharmaceutical company, you're going to find out a way of changing the laws in the states to make your products more attractive. What the problem is those lobbyists are also writing the laws that are being submitted by our state legislators, because everybody knows that in 60 days, how many of our state representatives or senators could write laws and actually send them in? 2 or 3 each? Not the 413 that have been sent in. And obviously those are being pushed by the lobbyists, and they're being pushed in a way to support their interests. We have very, very smart people designing these in ways to benefit the corporations and not benefit the people. So I don't think that this argument should be about, who is more corrupt than who. The whole system is freaking corrupt. We need to figure out a way of getting people. We have a citizen legislature in the state of Washington for a purpose, so that people can take their real life experience and knowledge and take it to the state so it benefits life for all of us. Not so that career politicians can take more and more money from their corporate, supporters, and then just continue the same, slugging through the mud fest as it has been.
But I want to make sure that I'm being clear here on this. We're not saying that all politicians are corrupt. We're saying the system that we're discussing is corrupt.
Right, and some politicians are very corrupt.
We even know great people here, right in Clark County, who are politicians who do a great job. So I just want to make sure that we're clear.
Maybe in the battleground area or something.
Here we go.
No, but so the argument always comes back then, well, since it's corrupting to have all this money coming from corporations, then it must be corrupting to have all this money coming from the unions, because they're putting just as much money in. Well, the unions are made up by hardworking people who have a vested interest to protect their ability to work 40 hours, to get benefits, to be able to put their kids through school and be able to retire one day. So I don't put those on the same plane. I'd like to see all of it removed, but if corporations are going to have an overwhelming influence of not only money but high-priced attorneys that are very intelligent, they have marketing on their side because that's what they've done for the last 200 years. They have everything going for them. Why shouldn't the unions then also be able to at least compete by putting
counterbalance kind
right?
of, yeah.
But all that does is like in the Tim Probst campaign, it just sinks the race further. Instead of, as soon as the Democrats started pouring more money in, the Republicans poured more money, we've got $1 million race and no winners because it's so ugly and so dirty that nobody wants anything to do with the race anymore. So I see money in politics as a corrupting influence. I'd like to see less of both sides. But as long as corporations have an overwhelming control in it, then the unions have to be able to put up their point of view also.
So something that has been, I've heard it multiple times now, this, resistance, revolution to resistance, those types of statements, that's, it's sounding a lot like Che Guevara. I'm just thinking, where are we at? Revolution to resistance, what does that mean? What are we talking about? What is happening?
It's just marketing. It's inspiration. It worked for Che Guevara because it inspired the people to get involved and want to be a part of it. If you said, we are coming out in a milquetoast rage against Trump, nobody's going to show up because it's just not interesting.
I don't like
if you say we are going to resist what he does to take away our rights and try to bring us to our knees, people will stand up and be involved. It is marketing. It is inspiration. It's getting people involved. When Bernie Sanders got involved, he said this is our revolution because he wanted to inspire all the people to be a part of it. You don't have to be a Democrat. You don't have to be a Republican. You don't have to be independent. You just have to share those core values.
So we're just looking for unity.
Right.
We're just bringing this group of people, this, slapjaw group of people from all over walks of life, whoever they are, bringing them together and, just...
Not necessarily, because having a common enemy is not always going to be the best defense or the best, collating force. You also need to have those core resonating values that you share with each other so that you can bond together through when it's time to slug through the sewers to do the work. You've got to have those core values that hold you together. But having a common enemy is a very uniting force.
So last year you ran for office for the first time ever, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, I guess, a pretty typical interview question when you go for a job. Tell us what was the best experience and the worst experience. But I'm interested. What was the best experience you had during the campaign, and what was the worst experience you had during the campaign?
I think the best experience during the campaign was the awareness. Meeting so many different people with so many different issues. I don't smoke pot. I don't have any need for it. I understand people who benefit from medical marijuana, but it just didn't resonate to me. But meeting all of these patients throughout the state of Washington who were literally suffering because they, by limiting their access to healthy, because there's a difference between the medical strain marijuana and the recreational, about the levels of pesticides that can be allowed in it and the different levels of the cannabinoids and the strength levels of it. So seeing that they couldn't access it because it was in, they lived in Tri-Cities or somewhere where it just had limited availability, and so they had to turn to recreational, which was exponentially more expensive, to the point where for them to get the dose they need to be able to manage their PTSD and their congenital whatever, and I knew a couple of people who had terminal cancer, and it was held at bay by taking cannabinoids, and so not being able to access it had a huge impact, and they were just calling out for help. And even though I had no direct connection, I just listened, and it made me realize things that had happened in my life. Would it have been different had I had access? My mother died of cancer. Would her last few months, been more comfortable for her if she wasn't, completely knocked out in opioids? And really that awareness. You meet different people and you see, I got more and more involved in the different people involved in Black Lives Matter, and that snaps an awareness. You're like, we're privileged white men. We don't really understand the privilege that we've had until you speak to people who say, how many times a day do you get pulled over because you're white? Doesn't happen, does it? You know, if I have a 13. Well, you probably drive.
Jeff, I think, is different stories.
I hit curbs all the time. Yeah.
But, you know, I've got a 13-year-old son who flies out to Utah every summer to spend half the summer with his mom. If he was black, would he be able to fly out without, you know, would I be able to be okay with him flying out and worry about what he's going to run into? When I was 12 years old, we'd walk a mile down to the 7-Eleven to buy Slurpees at 11 o'clock at night. You can't do that when you're black. You get this awareness that we have privilege. Even if, you know, I grew up poor in a trailer park with you know, no nickels to rub together. We had a rough life, but we still had so much more than so many people that didn't have that same just by your color alone. So the awareness of being able to speak to people and all of the things that they could experience is one of the greatest things that happened through the campaign. The worst part was that it's incredibly expensive, it's exhausting, and most people are going to look down upon you and think you're just trying to get your name out there or you're after something. When the reason why I got involved is because when I was calling Candy Bonneville and Rich Rogers and saying, who's running in these races, because I need to get behind somebody that I believe in and make sure we start changing the face of the 18th. And they kept telling me, well, nobody.
Well, they said Jeff Angelo, and you said that's a nobody.
Who?
I said who? No. So the only reason I ran is because nobody else was willing to stand up and give a voice to the people of our district. And that's important to me, to have that option, even if it's just to lose.
And you're going to rerun.
Well, we'll see.
Well, we'll see.
That's what I was going to ask. Is like, do you have any future plans at this point, or?
I just told him he's going to rerun.
Well,
right?
my
didn't I just say that?
My focus right now is for the Progressive Caucus.
Oh, okay.
He should answer the question.
He should.
Yeah.
I was just trying to help.
Go ahead, answer the question.
Yeah, my only focus right now is for the Progressive Caucus to make sure that we have the resources and the boots on the ground to get progressive minded individuals elected into all the seats we can. I didn't want to be the vice chair, but nobody else stood up to do that either. And so I'm doing what I can to be a part of it. If somebody would have stood up who was a greater fit for that piece, I would have backed them and said, I fully endorse this candidate. I want you guys to vote for him or her. Or
I think in the 18th, you and Justin Oberg have some work to do, because I know he's trying to find some candidates out there. He's been talking with a lot of people. He's trying to work on finding people in the community who can do a good job and be successful. It's a tough area. It's a very tough area.
Now is the time where we start to find and cultivate and educate new candidates and get them into a position where they're ready to run in 2 years.
One thing is, you know, I mean, I've been a candidate several times in the past, and I think that you maybe can share the same experience as me. One of the hardest things you can do, other than raising money, which is always the toughest, is the organization part of it. If there's an organization that's kind of existing there, the boots on the ground, which is what the Democratic Party has done, but sometimes that's not even enough.
Right.
You know, so it's the more people that we can engage in the process and get them involved in helping get a candidate selected. I think it's a great cause.
And a key to being a great candidate is somebody who can inspire people. Because when you inspire people, they'll show up and knock on doors. They'll show up and make phone calls. They'll give money. You know, the campaign shouldn't always just be about how much money you can raise, but how many people you can inspire to do something greater. And that's what we're hoping to do.
That's a good point. We're going to switch gears and talk
about campaigning. You like to gamble, obviously.
The casino is happening. We're just a couple months away.
And I've got great news for you, Jeff. This past week, the Clark County Council directed their legal staff to start revising resolutions that opposed the casinos. You know, for years, the county commissioners/council opposed the new casino up near La Center. So this pretty much is a signed, sealed, delivered deal going to happen probably in April.
Where are you? Now, do you gamble, Eric? Are you a gambling man?
I gamble twice a day when I'm crossing the I-5 bridge to get to work. So
that's the extent of your gambling right now?
Well, you know, I understand the structure of it. The structure is the casinos make a certain profit margin on every bet, because you know, there's a reason why they're big and bright and shiny. It's because they're not free.
That's all I do.
So I get it, but there's an enjoyment to it. There's an enjoyment to taking that risk, to saying I might be the one in 10,000 that hits the jackpot.
Oh,
the realization is.
I want to chase that feeling. But are we good with the casino going in right now? There's been a lot of controversy around it. There's been lots of. I mean, I understand the pros and cons. I get that.
1,500 jobs, good thing.
It's a positive
Are
thing.
they living wage jobs? Not so much. The infrastructure in place to handle the amount of sewage and waste coming out of the West Coast's largest casino, probably not real strong right now. So that's not such a great deal for those who care about the environment. That's something we need to look deeper into and try to get that water management taken care of properly. The other sovereign tribes in the area who are going to be impacted by loss of income, that's something we also have to think about, because how are we going to then support them when they need help because their schools are failing? So it's a multifaceted issue. Are we just bringing in 1,500 minimum wage jobs, or are these jobs going to be good supportive jobs? The immediate impact to the property values is great. I mean, we have a senator living in La Center who her property values are going to skyrocket. So this is good for some people, but it's not good for everybody.
Eric, what I'm taking away from this right now, I guess, is that you've never been to a buffet at a casino.
No, I have.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I feel like
That's what this is all about,
You're
right?
telling me the end result here was that you have not been there. They by the way, I mean, I guess we should have said it's supposed to be a Vegas-style casino.
Been to Vegas, been to Wendover.
Okay. I feel like then I'm missing something from this conversation.
You usually rate buffets by the star level in accordance to the level of explosive diarrhea that you get from eating at the
Hence
buffet.
the concern about the sewer system.
Yeah, just wait. If you've never had, the shrimp at the Emerald Queen in Tacoma or Fife, please don't.
I love hearing about them already. I'm going to go out there. My plans are to go out to La Center and tell them to double up that sewer main. So, because I'm going to be coming out in April and testing the waters there to make sure that we're all set.
Excellent.
Yeah, I invite you to come out with me to come at least see it.
I'll probably pass on this one.
Well, that's fair. At least I gave you the invite.
No, I think the Ilani is going to be a great venue. I'm excited to see what kind of really washed up groups come out to play at their 2,500 seat arena. Maybe Foghat.
That'd be great. If you say Aerosmith, I'm going to lose my mind here. Yeah, so please don't.
Probably Rat. We'll probably be seeing Rat. Brett Michaels.
It's a great point, though. We're probably going to start to see a lot of famous acts coming through here,
or at least
comedy acts, and all that we don't get to
Carrot
see.
Top.
Oh my God! Who doesn't love Carrot Top?
Show of hands is
4 versus 1 here. All right. Well, I saw Penn and Teller down in Vegas.
I thought Carrot Top was funny when I was 10.
So what happened?
Funny looking.
Well, I mean, he pulled stuff out of a box. I mean,
he is the buffest dude I have ever seen. Have you guys seen this guy?
Your level of humor is depending on how much you can bench press. So
what is your level of humor?
Arnold Schwarzenegger must be hilarious.
I think he is
someone who makes me laugh.
Yeah.
That's
every time I see Arnold, he's top of my list for comedians.
Probably relatableness and wit comes up pretty high on my humor level.
Man, I disagree fully with you guys. I don't even know what I'm still doing here talking about this.
I don't know. But anyways, Eric, oh my gosh, I'm sorry about Jeff today. I'm sorry.
But we do appreciate you coming by. It was honestly very informative, fun conversation. And I love hanging out with you. I personally, we've known each other a while. We don't always agree.
Well,
but
people do.
But at the end of the day, you and I, we always get along good. To close out here, there's a few events coming up that I just wanted to roll out really quick to everyone. Clark County Dems meeting Monday, February 13th, 7 p.m. at Labor Hall on Andreessen, locally in Vancouver. State of the County address is Thursday, February 23rd, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Hilton, Vancouver.
There's also a progressive group locally called the WA03 Progressive Caucus. It's the third CD group of Democrats who live in the third CD getting together, the progressive-minded people. If they want to join on Facebook, that's a great place to follow events. They're having a meeting, I believe, on the 24th of February. So get connected on Facebook. Also connect with the Washington State Progressive Caucus on Facebook and follow events with them. And be a part. If you want to be a part of the progressive movement, you want to definitely get involved.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Eric, for coming on. And from everyone here at Unfiltered, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
The Unfiltered Podcast is sponsored by the Clark County Democrats. Thank you for listening.